series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm joined today by the regular crew, Mahesh, Ashoka, and Kartikeya. All of them have on Twitter, and Kartikeya writes a regular Substack, also writes an occasional column for ESPN Cricinfo. We'll link all that. Yeah, so today we're not going to be talking about a specific match or series. This is a more general topic. Came up during one of our chats that we have on Messenger, and thought we could extend that into a podcast because we were chatting way too much about this, and we said, okay, we will inflict this upon all our listeners as well. So this actually started because Mahesh, as some of you know who listened to our previous podcast, Mahesh escaped away from the World Test Championship final, and he's we were joking that he was boycotting it because he went to Roland Garros to watch the French Open. So Mahesh, maybe you can start with that while we explore, of course, the rest of the topic, which became a furious discussion about watching cricket at the ground or watching sports at the venue in general, but specifically watching cricket at the ground versus watching it on TV. And two people on this conversation vehemently disagreed with Mahesh and me, who said that watching it at the ground had its, not only its charm, but also, had a different effect. Ashoka and Kartikeya were quite firm in their belief that there is absolutely no point in all this, and TV gives you the best option, and they would always prefer to watch it on TV. So I found that fascinating, actually, because I didn't think that, I knew that people felt that watching on TV had its benefits, but this was the first time I'd encountered such a strong opinion about watching on TV. So yeah, let's discuss it. Mahesh, you can set the stage about generally, not just Paris, but you, over the last many years, you've traveled around and made it a point to actually watch Test cricket in different venues. I think as far as I remember, Sri Lanka, Australia, England, and India, of course.
That's
so you can talk about the impetus of that and why. Apart from, of course, you having the privilege to do that, but just why you have been doing this and what have you learned from this whole experience?
You mentioned the point which I wanted to mention. It's an absolute privilege, and it is not something that I take lightly or I recommend everybody to do it and so on. But the point is, forget the fact that traveling around the world is an experience and so on. Like if I were living in Chennai and there's a match happening in Chennai, on every occasion I would like to be at the ground. And I follow three sports pretty closely: tennis, badminton, and cricket. And on all three sports, if given a choice to choose between one and the other, I will always choose to be at the stadium, at the ground where the event is happening. And to me, apart from, like, for instance, if you go to Sri Lanka, you get a sense of the place and the history and all that. Those are secondary sort of reasons to go there. But even the primary purpose of watching cricket for me, it can be argued amongst the three sports, cricket is probably the hardest to watch at the ground because the place of action is the farthest from where you're sitting as compared to badminton and tennis. But even for cricket, one of the reasons why I like watching cricket in the ground is the fact that it makes it a very human sport. Like the fact that you are sharing the same heat and humidity and the weather and the conditions with the cricketers makes you appreciate a lot more. For instance, the first time I went to watch a test at Gaul is when I realized it must have been very, very difficult for Sehwag to bat out there. The conditions were so hot and humid. And when he made the 200, we talk about the difficulty of the conditions in terms of the pitch and the bowlers, but we don't talk about the difficulty of the conditions in terms of the weather and so on, right? That is one thing. But even if a player drops a catch, the reaction to that is a lot more human when you're there, at least for me. Perhaps for different people, it's different. They process it differently. But when I'm watching on TV, I have this almost video game-like sort of mentality saying, oh, he shouldn't have been fishing outside the off stump. Can't he just hold back? To me, maybe because I grew up watching cricket in a fairly sort of toxic way, going to the ground was very liberating. And a lot of the foundation was laid in the first match that I saw. I talk about it on every occasion possible, the 2001 test that I watched. The first time I saw Shane Warne tossing the ball up and Lakshman going down the track and hitting him, was something so magical that I had never seen that on TV. Like I had never seen something so magical on TV, and I'd seen so much cricket in my life by that point. That's when I realized, and also it provides a continuity, right? It's the cricket that I played. It's the cricket that I watched in grounds near my house. It's the cricket that must have been played before TV became a thing. So it provides an immense sense of continuity for me, both in terms of history and in terms of lower levels cricket, right? If you're watching a first division match, you're trying to figure out who's a good player and who is not based on what you're watching at the ground. You don't have the advantage of replay, of the trajectory and ball speed and so on, right? There's a certain primal sort of perspective going on there. What you see is what you get, and you don't get a second chance, right? You miss it, you miss it. There are plenty of reasons, but for me, primarily, this is the reason, right? That makes it a lot more human to watch it at the ground. And it made me appreciate cricket, and particularly cricketers, a lot more after having been to the grounds.
Yeah, I think that point is crucial. Like when you watch like cricket in your neighborhood park, and then you watch like a Ranji Trophy game, and then you watch the test match. You actually watch an international bowler bowl or watch a test match. You actually, it's so apparent to see the vast gulf between what you're seeing, right? I mean, simply starting with, obviously when you're at the ground, you don't get to see the speed of the ball in each time, but the feel that you have of the pace at which they're bowling, or the feel that you have of how fast they're actually moving and anticipating, like as a fielder, like how much they're anticipating before the ball even reaches them. I mean, for me, watching Ricky Ponting for the first time was on the field, forget as a batter, just on the field, was quite a learning experience for me to see how quick he was actually anticipating the ball. Like you don't even have to, if you keep an eye on him and not the shot, it's marvelous to see him move before. And I'm imagining Jonty Rhodes would have been similar, and all the great fielders before that would have done something similar. So again, it's the continuity, right? You sort of begin to stretch it past. So,
and it's also very liberating because, the Ponting is a good example, right? Now, Mark Waugh for me is a good example. You can choose what you want to see, right? It's entirely possible that McGrath was bowling, but I was only watching Mark Waugh, for instance, right? You don't get that choice with the TV. Of course, you get so to me, cricket is basically being told as a story by a few people. The producers and the broadcasters decide what you have to see, what angles, what replays, and somebody's already giving the narrative. I mean, KD is an exception, but most people also watch it with commentary, right? And in fact, a lot of the recollection, if you're on Twitter, there's a bunch of guys who talk about old matches, and a lot of the recollection is based on what the commentator said at that point of time, right? So it is not even your primary experience; it's actually a second-hand experience in many ways. And to me, I don't know. I find that less appealing. Sure, I'm not here to judge which is superior and which is not from you, and there's a compelling case to be made for why watching on TV is superior. But for me, it's a lot more liberating to be at the ground and figure out what I want to see and from where I want to see. I was at Trent for the first time, and I was getting a beer and walking back. Usually I prefer the straight view, but there's a particular sort of delivery that I missed from James Anderson, which I was watching from the third man angle. Anderson bowled to Sachin, and Sachin played actually an off drive. I had never seen an off drive from a third man angle before. And I don't think any TV producer also shows that. But it made for spectacular viewing. It is an angle that I like, and I may not even watch it again because I'm not going to watch it from third man, so to speak. But I'm just saying this sort of democracy, this liberation was quite exciting for me.
Yeah, I think there was this, it reminds me of that, moment. I think he might have even written it in a piece, but he definitely told me about it, which is the cricket writer Rahul Bhattacharya, who mentioned that, watching Lara from a certain point, between, say, square and extra cover, you actually get to, like, Lara used to play that shot, right, where he actually spins the ball. It feels like it's going square, but it actually goes behind square because the ball then takes that spin. And he was like, you can actually feel it. Like there's a point in which you feel the ball is coming straight to you, but it's just like gone towards third man because of the kind of spin. So yeah, those sort of things you see. Anyway, historic first on this podcast where Ashoka and Kartikeya are actually going to agree with each other on something. So Ashoka, you actually didn't want to do this podcast for this very reason, that you're going to agree with KD, but start.
It has gone against all my principles right now. I'm going to say I agree with KD. TV is much better, dude. TV is like superb. And now with streaming and all that, you get to, go. They give you live highlights of things, so you can go back because not everyone is like mad crazy watching every ball. You can go back, watch highlights of when what happened, right? You can't do that on the ground, right? And all this democratic way of I will watch what I want to watch is just rubbish. It's just peddling nostalgia. What rubbish is this? Hey, first of all, you're inside the ground. That in itself is a massive advantage. You know somebody who's the uncle of some administrator. He will usharify 3 tickets for you and give. Meanwhile, I'll stand some 10 kilometers outside Chepak in like 50-degree heat, and then I'll get one seat which is behind a pillar, and I'll have to watch a pillar for 6 hours. First of all, that in itself is like the most undemocratic thing that is ever there. Because in a stadium, it's like a fixed capacity, man. There are more fans than every stadium in the world can hold. First of all, so and you would expect with that kind of asymmetry, the boards will have the common decency to put all tickets out and first come, first served. Whoever has money or whoever has the time can come and pick it up. Of course, that's not going to happen. Your uncles will take 30 tickets. Their uncles, their aunties will take 40 tickets. Some 700 tickets will go like this only. And those will be the best tickets in the house. Those will not be some, in the corner type tickets.
No,
Then the
sure,
rest
I share all your feelings about watching matches in India, and especially the privilege and all that. But let's set that aside. Let's assume your uncle also gives you 3 prime real estate tickets. Then let's talk about what's your preference.
I will no. That is not the that you are saying. Then among the privilege, which is the best? No, you have to compare apples to apples. For a common guy,
Watching cricket for scorecard is the most democratic thing. Even TV is a privilege. No, TV is a privilege.
he can watch it on mobile these days. He can watch it on mobile. He can put that mobile on mute and he can continue working while glancing at scores.
And almost everyone has a mobile. No.
Yeah. Now Ambani uncle is giving IPL for free. What else do we want in life?
Anyway, Kartikeya, now that all three of us have made our brief starting points, go for it.
Go for what? Firstly, don't drop me in the deep end of the pool, man, without telling me where to go.
Anything, man. The first.
How do I follow this? No, but before that, I'm not going to let you get away with this. And firstly, all the 3 listeners who we actually have, who may eventually listen to this, they should know that firstly, this is not my fault or Mahesh's fault. Okay, we did not want to do this podcast. And when Sid said, we decided that we should inflict all this. No, he decided. He alone decided that we should inflict this subject matter on the
accepted.
Yes. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, no, see, look here. For most of the 20th century, the professional cricket was professional. That is, people could play it for a living because of revenues which were collected at the ground. You went to the gate, you bought a ticket, you walked in, you went to the concession, you bought food or drink, and the ground, the administrators collected like a chunk of that. Right? That's how they made their money. And okay, sometimes they sent their teams on exhibition tours and then they collected from there also. When TV came, and with Packer and all these people in cricket especially, TV came and then the internet came, revenue went off the ground, right? So, for instance, the latest IPL contract signed in, I think, 2022 is worth some $6 billion for 5 years. That is $3 billion for TV rights and $3 billion for streaming. So a small fraction, maybe 1 in 10 rupees earned by an IPL franchise is earned at the ground now. So if I go to an IPL ground, I'm basically there to create the atmosphere, right? I'm basically there to make a better show for TV because that's where they make their money. And if that's the case, I don't see why I should pay 2,000 rupees for the privilege. I mean, they should pay me, because they are using me to make their television product better. They should pay me. They should at least feed me for free. Instead they're charging me this big sum of money. So why should I go sit in that loud thing with all the things Ashoka said minus all his epithets, with all the substance of what Ashoka said about fans at the cricket ground is true. So why should I suffer all that? Why commute back? Why go through all the hassle? It's much nicer to sit in your house and watch TV. And as far as the cricket is concerned, you don't really need either the commentary or the atmosphere and all. And I know what the atmosphere is like. It's not some big mystery. I've been to the ground. I think if you're new to cricket and if you're learning, then go to the ground, enjoy yourself. But at this stage, I don't see there's no incentive for me to go to the ground. Why should I go? What do I get out of it?
No, I'm okay. That's a fair take, but I mean, especially given both of you are talking about IPL, one thing, and two about watching cricket in India, which like after the Dharamshala experience, I've also promised myself that I will never go to watch a cricket match in India again, unless I happen to coincidentally be in Chennai at that time or something. I'm just leaving the door open for some exceptions.
This complete lies. Next time Rohit Sharma is India captain, he plays a test match, you are going to go.
No. Listen, let's assume that the pain points are removed. Let's just compare two fairly comparable things. Let's say I make your life easy. I'll give you the best seat in the house. Let's assume it's like a test match with not too much noise and traffic is not a problem and food is okay and it's reasonable and whatever. Right? Let's assume I pay you to come and watch the match. It's really the objective comparison of what's a better viewing experience. And I'm curious to know why you said if you're trying to learn cricket, if you're new to cricket, you go to the ground and enjoy. So why do you think that experience adds to your understanding of the game, which it did for a lot of us? I'm sure it also did for you. So why do you think that's the case, and what would you choose if you compare apple to apple without all the terrible experience of watching cricket in India?
No, I think it's a terrible experience. There are people who obviously enjoy it. No, there are people who enjoy being part of that crowd and who enjoy chanting and who enjoy, being part of some Mexican wave and whatnot. There are people who like that, and good for them. They can go, So, I'll give you an example, right? The first time I watched like really fast bowling was, I think I've told you this before, was Ambrose bowling to Andrew Hudson at CCI. I think it was sometime in the early 90s. And I was very small at that time. And the first
Hero Cup.
Yeah. Correct. And Jaunty Rhodes took lots of catches in that match. I remember.
6
and
catches,
I remember seeing only one of them. It was a diving catch at mid-wicket, which, because Simcox was bowling, Jaunty Rhodes moved from cover point to mid-wicket. And then he took that one diving catch over there. But the point is, the first two balls Ambrose bowled, I didn't even see the ball. I mean, it was so quick. And then the third ball, and Andrew Hudson just left it. And the third ball, Andrew Hudson played a back foot defense, and the ball just sort of trickled into the offside. After that, the fourth ball onwards, I saw every ball clearly, So that experience is worth having, like what fast bowling is, what a dipping off break is. You might think that like Pat Simcox is an average bowler, he doesn't get dipped like Ashwin does. That's true. But like compared to like your average guy you see or you play with on the weekends or in the evening, like Pat Simcox gets like spectacular amounts of dip. I mean, his ball really looks like it's on a string. Even Ramesh Pawar's off break, dips like spectacularly. And he's probably the slowest bowler I've seen live. But those things are worth seeing once or twice or a few times. Like I've gone, for instance, to the middle income group ground, MIG at Bandra, to watch Bombay play Baroda. I think Tendulkar was playing for Bombay and Kambli was playing for Bombay and Agarkar was playing for Bombay and Zahir Khan and I think Rashid Patel. They were playing for They were playing for Baroda. And Tendulkar made like 90 or something. And I remember him playing, and I remember Zahir Khan trying to bounce him all the time. And he got like 2 or 3 miscues and they landed safely. But Tendulkar was still playing the hook. And one hook he hit into the trees. I still remember it. I can still picture it entirely. I watched it from fine leg. The rest of the hook shots were like the miscued hook shots. They were like lobbing up and landing in the ground. You could see the ball completely. This last hook shot just flew into the trees above. It was a different sound. It was a different. The way everyone exhaled only sounded different when they saw that. It was like as Zahir Khan, I remember, he was just standing there with his hands on his hips, it's like watching the ball like that. It was very, very frustrated because he had drawn 3 or 4 miscues, and then this happened, and then Tendulkar went on to make 90 or something. So I've seen all that. I've seen Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath bowling at CCI in 2001 when they played Bombay. The ground was empty, and because it was the first day, and Bombay were batting, and so basically so I could sit right behind the bowler's arm, and I watched a whole spell of McGrath, and it was great. I also watched Paras Mambre bowling to Ricky Ponting in that match, and Mambre actually got Ponting out in that match.
Wait a minute.
I watched that.
Wait a minute. You are actually praising ground experience. You are supposed to be on my team. What the hell are you doing, man?
I'm telling you, I've seen all this. So I know what cricket looks like at a ground. No? So, but now I like what you see on TV now. You get to see. Firstly, you get to see line length. From the ground, unless you're the lucky 1% who get to sit right behind the umpire, you don't get to tell whether a ball is on the 6th stump or on the 4th stump. And I want to watch that.
Yeah, Mahesh is the lucky 1%. Not even luck. Luck has nothing to do with it. He's the 1%.
So, I'm trying to be polite here.
No, all accusations, I plead guilty. I have no problem admitting that. And as I mentioned, it is a privileged experience. I'm not talking about all that. So, okay, talking about the straight view, right? I always thought having access to the straight view was a great privilege, and I always preferred that.
Well,
so once
it costs more, no, behind the bowler.
It costs a little more,
compared to square leg.
Yeah, compared to square leg, but yeah, okay, let's come to that a little later. But again, I'm going to kind of act posh here. But once I was asking, talking to Gideon Haigh about it, and he actually pointed out that as he grew up watching cricket at MCG, his fondest memories of going to the ground and watching were actually from square leg sort of stance. And he says, 2 things that you get from that angle that you don't get from a straight view is, one, you get to observe how fast a bowler is. You don't understand pace if you watch from straight on as much as you do from side angle. And the other thing that he talks about is you watch someone like Bishan Singh Bedi bowl, you don't understand the guile of the bowler unless you watch it from the side angle. He says he got to appreciate spin a lot better from that angle. So while it is true that sitting straight is a privilege, my view is that every angle makes a difference and it adds to your understanding of the game. The first time I watched Lakshman bat against Colin Miller, for instance, there was a cover drive that he played against the spin. Was like when I was sitting at covers. But again,
mythical ground. What is this mythical ground where you're observing all these nuances, man? Some 10 people will be walking this side and that side, blocking the view. All these glorious cover drives, I'll miss. I'll only hear the crowd roaring because the ball will be in the boundary line. I'll see the bowler running. One guy will block my view completely because he wants to go somewhere. And then the next thing I'll see is that ball will be outside the boundary line. And people will say that's a glorious shot, excellent use of judgment. And I'll just lie to, blend in. If I just say the truth that I have not watched anything, I look like an idiot and a fool. Idiot for missing the shot, fool for paying for the ticket. What the hell, dude? In TV, I can just watch the replay. No,
see, that is the problem of being surrounded by knowledgeable fans.
Every fan in India who has been on the ground has either been blocked or has blocked someone else's view during the course of an over.
Okay, Ashoka, I'll give you a better alternative. It's a cheap flight from Chennai to Colombo. Take a flight, go to SSC or go to Gaul. The ticket is like 50 Sri Lankan rupees for the grass stands. Nobody will bother you. You can get a beer in your hand and watch very peacefully. And it's as close. In fact, once I took my son over there when he was like 2 years old. While Dale Steyn was bowling, he ran across the side screen. And then they had to close the gate. There's like a small gate on both ends of the side screen, on both sides, because he literally stopped Dale Steyn from bowling. They had to close the gate. I'm just saying that not every experience is like India.
Ashoka, he tried Dharamshala, now he's trying Colombo.
Yeah, he's now saying, you know what this is? He's just saying, I understand your problems. Work hard in life and become rich, and then go outside India and enjoy match. Why are you poor? He's asking me like this in a roundabout way. Anyway, sorry.
I wanted to go back to Kartikeya's point. It is funny because till he spelt out MIG, the irony didn't like so hard. He said middle income group. Then I was thinking, which ground is he talking about? Then I realized there's the Bandra ground, and it's probably the most expensive cricket ground in the world in terms of real estate price. At least one of the most expensive. You can count Wankhede, Gabon.
At that time, it was free. You could basically get down from the bus, cross the street, and sit on a concrete pavement, boundary wall.
Free.
Even now it's probably free. He's talking about the real estate.
No, you said MIG, right? You expanded MIG. I'm like, what an irony that ground is called MIG.
Yeah, because to get such land in the middle of Bandra you would need to be like.
But this is all land which was acquired. All this MIG and all, no, this is all they acquired land when Bandra was like outskirts of Bombay, man.
Yeah.
I know.
Of course.
Given that we are going very socialistic in this pod, I thought we'll also add that social commentary here. What used to be MIG 40 years back is the poshest land in Bombay right now.
See, we have to get to the little more fundamental issue. Okay, now we have set the privilege bar straight, right? Like we are all agreeing that there is a massive privilege in number one talking about having time to talk about cricket, and number two to go to the ground. There are like escalating levels of privilege. But the fact is, the question I have is, do you see the same game in TV as you see the ground? Because you're in TV, we are basically at the whims. Mahesh has put it in the intro, right? You're at the whims of the director. You're at the whims of the producer. And I would recommend, in fact, listeners to go back to listen to two podcasts that we did. One with director Hemant Butch and one with the producer. And it sort of tells you how clearly you are. What is given to you is so thought through, and there is like an attempt to create a story of the game. Like why would you want to watch like a broadcast that every third frame is panning to Virat Kohli and his expressions, man? I mean, that's quite irritating for me. At the ground, I have the choice. No, I don't have to look at Kohli. I can look at Kohli when I want.
And even when you look at Kohli's expression in the ground, it doesn't have the same impact. It feels so petty on occasions. It doesn't, like, all of a sudden it's magnified in the super slow motion with super close up on TV. When you watch it at the ground, it looks so silly, actually.
It's not just Kohli, right? It's also like then after that, every fifth shot should pan to Kohli's wife on the stands. And then there will be like, it's almost like everything has to be connected to the individual, right? And that is the whole angst that Kartikeya has been sort of writing in many of his pieces. How cricket is seen through this lens of a moment and through the lens of an individual, and how we act as if one person wins the game, one moment wins the game. But that is exactly what TV is reinforcing. And when you go to the ground, and if you, at the end of the day's play, if you actually sort of summarize what is happening, you are unlikely to do that as much as you are in TV, because you have not seen the same highlights of that one Cameron Green catch some 20 times that they have replayed. It is not as amplified in your head as it is after you watch that sort of the broadcast.
Because it is analog, man. When you watch it in the ground, you watch a continuous flow of the game from morning till evening, let's say. But, TV is very beat based, right? They know the beats. Like at the end of the over, you subconsciously expect a commercial to go on. Like you can switch off at the end of the over. But at the end of the over in a ground, there is something happening in the ground, on the pitch. So people are talking. I mean, fielders are moving places. You're switched on a lot more during your ground experience, rather than when when a wicket falls, there is a commercial. When the over ends, there is a commercial break. So TV, is a very it has for very long conditioned us to watch cricket very discreetly. First, cricket itself is a very discreet sport, but it has made us, it has trained us to switch on and off. Whereas in a ground, that on and off is not there. The only off you get is when you walk away from your seat and go do something else. If you're on the seat and you're watching the play, you're always on. And that's
and even if you walk away from the seat, you have the sound. So basically, that if you've gone to buy something or something, that when there's like that huge sound, something has happened related to a team.
Yeah. And secondly, the audio element of it is like a huge thing. Right now I am also at a stage where I can mute and watch a match. But for a very long time, I needed that commentary too, because that was also kind of a essential part of my experience. When I started watching cricket, commentary should be there when a batsman hits a shot or between two balls. There should be someone speaking. Otherwise, it felt very odd. So the first few times when I watched it in the ground, it felt very odd. Everything was, silent and everyone went about doing their jobs. There was no, storytelling involved. So that threw me off first of all. And you can call it a different experience, but it's a learned thing. Like you think, okay, you understand that the game happens all the time. Not, it's not cut by commercials and then just like you switch off and switch on, players don't switch off and switch on. The game is on all the time from morning till the end of the last ball.
We don't really watch the game at the ground or on TV. We watch the game which we expect is going to occur in our head. That's why it's different. When Pat Cummins is bowling versus when some Paltu bowler is bowling. The expectation is different. You expect to see something. You see what you expect to see, basically. Whether you're at the ground.
Took you 45 minutes. Took you 45 minutes to bring in Pat Cummins. But that's a highly philosophical point, man. Everything is that. Then everything in life is that.
Exactly, it's true. Exactly, it's true. No, so I don't even notice the whole, camera panning to Anushka, what's her name, and or Kohli or someone else's wife or husband or some commentator. I don't even notice that. I just tune that out. It's not there. I don't even watch it. It's like the match is going on mute. I don't have to watch every ball also. Sometimes I watch every ball. Like when there's a really good bowler bowling, I watch like every ball. Mostly I don't even watch every.
Go ahead, say Pat Cummins.
Really good bowler, it seems. There's only one bowler who qualifies as really good bowler. Say it.
What? No, even if it's like Bumrah bowling, I still watch.
Even if it's like concession, MIG Bumrah.
Ashwin, Bumrah, Rabada, Lyon, all these guys, Anderson, Robinson, superb bowler. I watch that. Steve Smith is batting, I'll watch pretty much everything. But really, the point is, we don't really watch what's going on. No, we watch what we expect to watch. So it's like, when Kohli bats, you're expecting to see a flowing cover drive. So when it happens, you're not happy because it happened. You're happy because something you expected to see happened. Something which was familiar to you happened. That's why the cover drive to some faltu half volley outside off stump becomes like a great shot when Kohli plays it, or it becomes a great shot. On drive becomes a great shot. On drive to a half volley becomes a great shot when Tendulkar plays it. Because when he plays it, it's something you've seen before, some great thing you've seen before, which that okay, it's so that's I don't think it like. Yeah, you're right. On TV, the director is basically showing you whatever the director has some sequence in mind, and that's what they're showing you, right? But it's okay. I mean, I don't look. I mean, it depends on like what you are watching the game for. Also, I mean, if you're watching like because you want India to win or because you want England to win or something like that, that's a different type of watching. Then you have only eyes for one team, right? Even if you're at the ground, like these Barmy Army and all these people, like they're not really interested in seeing like what how Mitchell Stark keeps trying to bowl Yorkers, and about half the time the Yorker becomes a half volley or something like that, right? They love the fact that he gets hammered, when he gets hammered, and they hate the fact that he gets wickets when he gets wickets. So that's why they're there, and that's fine. No, that's their thing. But that means they're even at the ground, they are not watching the same game that some Australian fan is watching.
So the point about different people in the ground coming out of the different experiences is actually quite interesting for me, because personally, every time I went out with my friends to watch a game at the ground, by the time we came back and had some sense of the day's play, the views were vastly divergent. We all took different things from the day's play as compared to 10 of us sitting at home and watching on TV, because voluntarily or involuntarily, we are influenced by what we watch on TV. And if, let's say, a bunch of commentators discuss that this is what happened and this is the key moments and these are what happened and whatever, that influences the way you process the game. And if you look at the collective sort of take on some of the popular events like chokers or any big event you take, there's a certain consensus towards a particular narrative, right? This is what happened, therefore A plus B is equal to C, which doesn't quite often happen when you watch it at the ground. And the other thing is that this was said to me by this journalist, at that time journalist, I don't know where he works now, in some digital media company now, Deepak Narayanan. He said this. Yeah, he said this about Rahul Bhattacharya. He says all of us go to the same ground, watch the same match from the same press box, and the piece that he writes and the piece I write, there is a gulf. There is a world of difference. Did he watch the same match that I watched? I'm just saying that watching at the ground facilitates this sort of divergent take on the match, which is also the reason why, for instance, cricket writing of a particular time, or even now, someone like Gideon Haigh is able to write so much better because he's got the discipline to do that. Like in fact, when he missed the test at Gabba, if I'm not wrong, the during the COVID, which India won at the last one, right? Was it Gabba where they were not allowed to travel or something because of the quarantine requirements?
Yeah.
And they said, writing on this game is like a second-hand experience, right? I'm not a journalist. I'm reporting on something that's already being reported. So when you have that rigor to watch a match, it allows you to shape the understanding of the game in a way which is not shaped on TV, by any stretch of imagination. And that's true of all journalists. When Mike Selvey writes a day's report, or when Gideon Haigh writes a day's report, it is quite clear to me that their perspective is different from someone who watched it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, Gideon Haigh, just to elaborate on that, on Haigh, he wrote a report from recently from the Edgbaston Ashes test match, the first test match, where he started his report by talking about a drinks break. And he spoke about what different people were doing at the drinks break, because he's the only people at the ground have the advantage of watching what happens at the drinks break, right? Everyone on TV, you're at an ad. So, and he spoke about everything. And then he spoke about that one moment where Nathan Lyon basically goes up to the stumps and he switches the bails. So he just takes the bails and switches it. And this is a kind of superstition that he has. Apparently he has done it before as well. So it was an interesting sort of little observation to start the piece. And Gideon does that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's good. No, that's why I read him. No, then I know what he saw. So I got the experience.
Yeah. But then you must agree that him being at the ground is better than him watching on TV, right?
Yeah. Everybody being at the ground is better than nobody being at the ground. That's true. But
okay. No, and the cricket writing point, I think we have to distinguish from the cricket watching point, right? Like, I mean, for a writer, it's very obvious. Like, if you see the people who write well on cricket these days, I mean, it's very obvious that when they go to a game and they are actually covering it from the press box, the sort of the type of writing and I would even say the quality of writing is considerably enhanced. and you get the kind of observations that Karthik Krishnaswamy or Fidel Fernando will make from a live experience.
That's their job, no?
Sure. But I'm saying it's very apparent to see the what you get from that report from the press box too, and they often write off TV also. And there is a difference between the what you read between the two.
No, that's where I don't want to demarcate a fan's experience versus a journalist experience, because we are influenced or we are informed by the journalist, right? If I grew up reading Fidel or Karthik or Gideon, I'm also looking at cricket from, I'm learning from them. I'm building on what they've given me when I go to the ground and watch it, right? So for instance, if I just keep watching TV and keep listening to, let's say, Shastri talking, there is a certain understanding I have of the game, which is influenced by what they're talking. So I'm just saying that there is a uniform experience that you get from TV, right? Like you take the 2019 World Cup final, for example. The fact that it's an epic final is talked about a lot more from the perspective of how Ian Smith commentated about the final over than about the match itself. I mean, it's a long match. It's not just a one over, right? But if you want to go back
Mahesh, this uniform opinion everyone has watching TV. Have you met KD? Have you read his opinions? 99% of Twitter thinks that his opinion should be, illegal.
No, that's fine.
Not everybody agrees.
That's what I'm saying. When KD says, I'm okay with TV, but that's also a relative stance. He's saying, okay, I understand how this game works. I've seen enough at the ground. So I understand how to connect the TV picture to the ground experience. Therefore, it's good enough for me. And that's a fine take. I have no problem with that. But it's a take that doesn't apply to most people. Of course,
that's not the take. No, that's not the take. The take is that everybody is doing that one way or the other, whether they watch at the ground or whether they watch at TV.
I'm not sure. A lot of the toxic commentary around cricket happens because majority of the people have, in fact, Mukul Kesavan used to write about it extensively in the 2000s. The average Indian fan is someone who's never played cricket or never played cricket the way it's meant to be.
Yeah, but that's true of all average fans of all sports.
All sports, man. That's true of all sports. Who has played like Federer, man?
But I'm not so sure. No, not like Federer. But I'm not sure.
The tennis ball with a tennis racket, the sensations, a lot of the tennis fans would have experienced. Football, the sensations are the same. But majority of Indian cricket fans are people who played with a very light bat with a tennis ball.
Yeah, good.
I know that distinction in experience is massive, right? Even if you play badminton outdoors, even if not indoors, you still have a pretty good perspective of the game. But an average Indian fan doesn't understand how much a cricket ball bounces. And that's a very fundamental understanding of the sport. And that is also made worse by watching cricket exclusively on TV. And again, I mean, it's all privilege and all that is fine. I'm just saying that, forget watching the same match, watching the same test match at the ground. I'm just saying watching any match at the ground. It could be a first division game, a second division game, or some school game. It just makes it a lot more human to relate to the cricketers. And if I had been in the ground watching the 2019 World Cup final, the way I would have come back from that match and what I would remember till date would be very different from the fact that I watched it on TV. And like all four of us sitting here, maybe KD is an exception, but for the three of us, our experience of the 2019 World Cup final is very similar because all of us were directed by some gods on how we should process that information that we saw.
Yeah, I was also directed by the same people, okay? I also watched the same TV you watched.
But you are an exception.
Yeah, but you watch on mute and you tune off when they're showing other pictures. So
I have other things to do, no? That's why. It's just not because I don't like it.
No.
It's not that we don't have other things to do.
I mean, we also have other things to do. No, we can't. We don't earn money of watching cricket. No.
Yeah.
But I tune in when the other things happen. Like when they show action shots of Kohli, when I actually pay attention. Otherwise, cricket is cricket, man. We know cricket. We have been seeing it. This drama is why we need TV. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Because so you are going anti-ground fully. Watch everything that you can't see on the ground.
Yeah, man. What is this? I will watch it from the square to see how fast the bowler is. Okay, I know how fast the bowler is.
So next time you're going to goal, you're not coming, right?
Besides, all this snobbery about what is this on TV? They show Anushka Sharma and some other actor and this and that.
Yeah, Anushka Sharma is nice to look at, man. Why should I not show her?
That's not the point.
If they show my face every 5 minutes, who will watch?
First of all,
Actually,
it's
they're
not
doing
snobbery. It's not snobbery. I'm just
It's
saying.
snobbery. At the ground and the big screen, they show the same pictures that they show on TV every 5 minutes.
But I don't have to watch it. No,
No, that's
I have
not
the
true. That's
option
not
not
true.
to watch it. No, first of all.
First of all, it's not true.
Are you
And
kidding?
second,
You're sitting in one room with one small screen in front of you. You're sitting at a ground with with like 4 gigantic screens all around you. How
but a
can
much
you
bigger
not
ground
watch
in front of me.
It's
Right? Much
actually-
bigger field in front of me.
And I have far more things to watch at the ground rather than watching the giant screen. In fact, you know what? When I've gone to the grounds which have a giant screen, I have rarely watched the giant screen. I mean, maybe, of course, I'll watch for those close replays and all. I will watch, but other than that, I don't watch it. I don't feel
thought of this-
any need to watch it.
Yeah, but I thought of this only because you said giant screen. I have watched quite a bit of baseball at Giant Stadium in San Francisco and at the Oakland A's Coliseum in Oakland. Okay. And I watch baseball on TV also. Okay. Now, I'm not sure. I would go to watch a baseball game at a baseball stadium, even though, all the same things apply, like you can't tell whether the pitcher is, I mean, in baseball, it's like one of the distinctions between baseball and cricket, and this is actually an interesting distinction, is that in baseball, almost nobody gets to watch from behind the umpire, right? And like the size of the plate and all that is very, very tiny, but like there's no stump to be broken, no? So basically, that the hitter has been caught looking when the umpire calls a strike, or that a hitter has been caught looking on a 0-2, on a 2-strike count because the umpire calls a strikeout, So the geometry of the game becomes evident to you through consequences, whereas, and every action in baseball has, significant consequences. Like, so it's everything at once is the count, right? It's either one ball or one strike, or or it's a foul ball and it's a strike. So baseball is actually, in that sense, a game designed to be watched at the ground, because you can understand what's going on simply by following what the umpire what decision the umpire is making, what decision the first base coach is, the third base coach is making, whether he's, and so on and so forth. Whereas in cricket, you want to see sort of a spell, right? You want to see that, okay, Jasprit Bumrah is trying to, bowl bouncers at this guy, or he's trying to bowl wide at this guy. He's trying to lure him, he's going to bowl a sucker ball. You can see that he's going to try it. Now, whether the batter goes for it or not, it doesn't really matter, right? So the point is that in baseball, in cricket, if you're watching from, like, say, cover point or something like that, you will not get that picture of what exactly happened that you will if you're watching from behind the bowler. So cricket is episodic in a different way to baseball. So I think, like, even like in football is a lot more like baseball. In football, I would say there's a definite advantage to watching at the ground, especially high up. And this is something people who watch American football also say, that it's much better to watch the game from high up in the stadium, because then you can get a picture of the positioning of all the 22 players in the soccer match. And that's a really useful thing to know. Even in American football, you get to see how the defense is organized, whether it's a nickel defense, whether they're whether they're trying to rush the pass or whatever. So cricket is not a spectator sport in that sense, in the sense that it's not designed to keep the spectators engaged. Is one of the reasons why I find it like I get a lot more watching it on TV, like for the amount of attention I have to give. So that's why I like it.
No, I think that's a great point. I think amongst the sports that I have seen, like at the ground, cricket is probably the hardest to decipher fully. Like, you get an enhanced understanding of some things and you get a diminished understanding of some things. There is certainly something that you lose out by missing out on TV, which is not the replays and the drama and so on, just the basic understanding of the game. Like KD said, if you're sitting at square leg, you wouldn't understand if an LBW shout was close or if something was a wide or not and so on, which is not probably true of tennis and badminton, for instance. I think in most places you get pretty much a full grasp of the game. Like, I don't think, like, for instance, if let's talk about a time before TV, right? People who watched the games at the ground would have had a far superior understanding of what happened there as compared to cricket. So that is certainly a disadvantage to cricket. And it's something that Gideon also talks about it quite a lot. The field of action, particularly the sort of zone of action, is so far away from the stands. Yeah, that's the point I'm happy to concede that cricket is not.
But that is an engineering problem. No, that is a problem of we are stuck with the stadiums, engineering and real estate problem. We are stuck with stadiums in certain locations which are in a certain shape. So we have
even in golf, where like you can pretty much stand next to the boundary rope, or SSC, where they have the grass bank. The distance between that and the pitch is still far away. I mean, if you're at long on, the distance between, or even like mid wicket, the distance between the fielder and the place of action itself is far away, and that has a definitive disadvantage because you can't see the angles. You can't, like, for instance, I mean, how can a fielder standing at mid wicket, even within the circle, appeal for LBW? Right? He can't. I mean, people do, but they have no clue, right? And that applies manifold to spectators, and that's a clear disadvantage for sure. The other point I wanted to discuss, which KD made. Sorry, you can finish this and then we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that's one thing. It's not just the sitting at square leg or sitting at cover point or sitting behind the bowler. It's that, you see, in cricket, it works on appeals, right? So the umpire only intervenes when he's asked to, when by the players. Otherwise, he's not intervening. So the number of signals that are being explicitly given about the progress of the game are very, very infrequent. Mostly it's like, they bowl 6 balls, they walk away. So the amount of effort you have to put in to sort of read what's going on and to follow along with what's going on, that's way more than it is in, say, baseball or something, where everything is sort of signaled in it's a performance. It's like very really, I mean, all to the point of being theatrical, and
so that would make it easier for cricket to be followed on TV, right? When there is a scorecard, and a commentator explicitly saying 3 balls left, 2 balls left, over.
Yeah, and that's why I think in cricket that view from behind the umpire really helps, to help you to read things. Like nowadays, like, I don't even need to see the field. Like, I can guess what the field is, given what a guy is doing. And if the field is not there, like if, for example, a guy keeps bowling on leg stump a couple of times over and keeps getting it for 4 through square leg, then I know he's bowled a bad ball. No? But there's that requires a lot of sort of work. No, I mean, like, that requires sort of the first order, second order, third order inferences to be drawn if you really want to read what's going on over there. So cricket is, in that sense, really not it's not really a spectator sport if one is honest. It does very little in its performance to actually, even make the spectator feel as though the players know that the spectator is there. So it's a bit like snooker in that sense, cricket, rather than.
You know what this reminds me.
Why don't go to snooker now, please? No, I don't know. Like, don't make me defend something else now. Let's stick to cricket.
This while KD was talking about this, like, very hard to follow. I was reminded of that the device that the crowds in Ashes wear, in the ear, like an earphone kind of thing.
Yeah, the Sky
It's a radio.
earpiece.
It's radio. Yeah.
Radio, the small radio, wireless radio. That
So you can switch between radio commentary and the TV commentary. So you get the simulcast of the TV.
No. That is the TV commentary only that you get, not radio commentary.
In some in some grounds you get two different versions. So why you can switch between radio and maybe I don't know, they've changed it now. But when I went in 2011 to both England and Australia, at least in Australia, I remember you could switch between radio and
that's good then. That's good, because I've only seen the TV version. Anyway,
a TV version is problematic in the sense that you don't, I don't know. I don't like listening just to the commentary.
Yeah, obviously, because the TV version assumes you have access to pictures.
Yeah. Pictures that they are focusing, right?
No, my initial point was that is a great way of enhancing your ground experience. At least it will give you cues on when to focus on the ground, and or if some important action is about to happen, like a batsman approaching 50. Maybe you're not watching the scorecard, like someone saying it in the ear that he's on 49 for the last 20 balls. Okay, fine. This is something is happening. Stuff like
that. But you're at the ground also for not getting those cues, right? You're at the ground for independently doing what you want.
That is like 15 people, man. The rest of them are still looking for cues only. What? You are assuming...
But if that is true, one of the things that I found very anal about cricket was the fact that, one of the common things that you'll notice when you watch Test cricket particularly is that there'll be a lot of first-timers at the ground, and they'll always struggle to figure out who's standing where. They know the cricketers, but they can't figure out who's there.
Sidvi, just like KD is not the representative of all the TV watchers, cricket watchers, you both are not the representative of all the ground watchers. A lot of people come there for entertainment and for fun. They're not even watching all the balls.
Actually, I don't think there is... the beauty of the ground is I don't think there is any representative of people who watch the ground. That is because everybody is watching...
Who goes to the ground to watch a cricket match to not have fun, man?
Not
exactly.
necessary.
I go for the same reason. No, but
I don't want to out people, but anyways, I'll disagree with that. Some people are there, to have a good time with friends and colleagues or whatnot, or family.
Yeah, that is one set of people. Then there is another set of people who are doing this. I'm saying there is a multiple sets of people with multiple inclinations who are going to the ground, right?
Yeah, even in the French Open, like for instance, what's her name? The player from Tunisia. So basically, they sell the ticket for the whole session, and a lot of the best seats are sold for corporate packages. They get their clients, entertain their clients, and whatever. So they want to watch Djokovic play or like some big player play. The rest of the matches they don't care. So they're blocking the seats, and they go out for, especially in French Open, they're notorious for throwing these lavish lunches and dinners as part of the corporate package. So they're like having the tickets and they don't turn up. Sorry, the other thing I want to connect to what KD was talking about is I'm just looking for that piece that there's an essay that Gideon wrote about how in the early days the televised sport was meant to kind of replicate what you could watch at the ground. But over time, the equation has reversed. Now they're trying to replicate the TV experience on the ground, right? With all the jazz and the giant screen and so on. So eventually you'll notice that the TV dominates because that's the primary consumption mode for a lot of people. And the giant screen and all the other sort of audio thing certainly adds to the point that even there you're having a similar commoditized experience. But that is not true of all places, and that's not true of all series, in fact. Of course, if you go to the big grounds in Australia, you get that sense sometimes, especially with those giant screens. But fortunately, in Test cricket, they don't do those big jazz things and the fire things and so on. And also, going back to the point, a lot of the first-timers can't figure out who's who, right? So when they actually started having the big name and the numbers on the jerseys, I was actually okay. I was quite happy about it. Of course, a lot of people outrage about it, saying you're killing tradition, and the whole point of going to the ground is to be invested and to have your own journey of discovering how to watch the game at the ground. And it is true that it is not instantly obvious to you on how to consume the sport when you're at the ground for the first time.
You're trying to tell me that in that IPL final, which was watched by some 60-70,000 people at the ground and some 30 million people online, only those who went to the ground were getting introduced to the game? It was like
no, definitely
500, 500 times as many people are getting introduced to the game among those 30 million, man.
Yeah, but there is.
You're not so as an introduction to the game, TV is obviously vastly superior to the
where's
ground.
even the debate on that? Nobody is even questioning that. The scale that TV offers is insane. There's no doubt about it. If I'm a cricketer, I want to play a game which is widely televised. There's no doubt about it, right? One, I become popular, I become richer, and also like more people get to know me and so on. There's no question about it. The point about making it easier for the new audience is about introducing. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the ground experience is also has to get better, right? Like the fact that you put the name makes it easier for first timers to figure out who's where. Rather than a lot of people give up after the first time, right?
My radical solution to improving the ground experience in India is that fans should demand that BCCI should pay them to go to the ground and watch the game. Then the facilities will be better, and then the fan experience will be better.
No,
First
the
of all,
facilities will not be better. They'll say, I'm giving it to you for free. You want better toilets or what?
Yeah, of course. You say you are using me to improve your television product. So I am like an extra on your set. So
basically he's saying put a ransom and say that until you improve that, you have to pay me.
He's saying the crowd is a
better the TV product.
Yeah, the crowd is part of the game. He's saying crowd is part of the game. They have to demand salaries.
But they are part of the game. I'm not saying it. They are. It's a fact.
It is a fact. That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, that takes me to another point that we discussed on the chat, which I wanted to.
That means the 2 tests that England played against India during COVID is not cricket, is it?
No, but people complain about it. No, people complain about the fact that there's no atmosphere.
Yeah, there is. In fact, a lot of TV people were complaining about it, beautiful. Which is actually quite.
There is very beautiful silence.
I mean, just imagine the Gabba test that India won against Australia. If it was jam-packed, it would have been a different sort of experience obviously for those at the ground, but also for those watching.
I don't think we should imagine too many alternative realities for that Gabba test, because if you believe in sort of alternative realities, in most of those, India lose that test. Okay, so.
No. So the other point that we discussed on the chat is that one of my first responses to why watching in the ground is preferable, to which Katie actually had a good counter, is that I find this whole idea about this game being more important, and there is like a sport, a simple competitive sport somehow becomes a social event, and that has problematic sort of consequences for the way we consume the sport. And like a World Cup final is hyped up as this big sort of thing. And of course, if you watch it at the ground, it doesn't feel as big. It's actually a much smaller scale sort of event, right? But Katie was right in the sense that it is actually going to the ground. It just become a social event. Then people use it as a currency. I was there at the ground for this event, right? Now, like both are valid points, but if your primary mode of consumption is just going to the ground, I think beyond a point you'll not. I mean, some of the problems, and it's also a problem for me when I go there. Like a lot of people who are like, you paid a lot of money. Some people travel. Some people except when I'm watching Federer play. Every other time, people are always doing something with the phone, taking photo, taking selfie, in fact, walking in the middle.
You know what? This Bangalore test when India played Sri Lanka, there was this very young girl sitting in front of me. Like she will be like 12, 14-year-old. And Kohli came to bat. Kohli got out. She just switched on to that phone and she started listening to BTS music and she was vibing, man. We was just like dancing while sitting on her seat. And me and my friend, we were watching the match and then we were watching this girl. We were like, Macha, she's enjoying this match more than we could ever even enjoy. Even a Bumrah spell, we would not be dancing on the seat. She was like dancing and she was not watching the match at all. She was like unconcerned. She just came for Kohli. She saw Kohli get out. Now she's enjoying. She's doing her thing.
Macha, when people came to watch Sachin bat and Sehwag scored 185, Sachin gets out for a duck. People leave the ground, and that's romanticized as some great thing about Sachin. Now, when a girl does it for Kohli, you're putting her down, saying, "Oh,
no, I'm not putting her down. I'm saying that she enjoyed."
Come on, we could see that implied tone there.
No, he was actually happy. He was actually saying that she had figured things out much better
No.
than him.
You know what is happening, right? This guy is now getting back at me for calling him a Boris Becker friend.
Yeah, he's losing the argument.
Yeah. Another thing about this whole I was there currency is also slightly bogus, man. Because I can say I was there in the 98 when in Chennai when Sachin hits that 155, right, against Australia. But if you actually see, I was there on Saturday and Sunday when I could actually go. And Sachin hit that 155 on Monday and Tuesday. All I got to see was that Ian Healy dragging his heels for 700 hours to make a 90, boring 90. But the way I will present it to everybody is like, hey, I was there when Sachin hit 150.
No, you were not there.
No.
You were...
That's also currency. I was nearly there. That's what I say, right? When India won the 2001 test, I was not there. I had left the ground. But I was nearly there.
Yeah, but you don't have to actually be there to say I was there. Like about a million people were probably at Chepauk in 1999 when Pakistan won.
Or Vishwanath's 97.
Yeah, Vishwanath's 97 has been watched by like half the population on Twitter, man. What?
99 at least you can audit, right? We have the video footage and whatever. 97 you can't. Like Vishy's 97 you can't. No. So going back to the point, I still think that okay, that point is valid. That going to the ground nowadays, especially for the big events, is seen as a social event. It raises the profile as a social event than otherwise. But that happens only for a handful of matches. But I'm not talking about big matches. Any match, it could be a random. And okay, the first cricket match I saw live in the ground is not even the 2001 Test. It was in 1999 there is a Nehru Stadium in Delhi, and India was going for the 99 World Cup camp. Before that, they played some practice match for the I don't know what was the context, but it was like Azharuddin 11 versus Kumble 11 or whatever. Lakshmi Ratan Shukla, who I heard a lot about, through reports and so on, right? I had imagined him to be the next Kapil Dev coming through the ranks. Yeah, exactly. And I saw him bowl with the new ball in that absolutely friendly match where Kirti Azad was on commentary, like in a loudspeaker, asking people to cheer for sixers and so on. Like it was just an absolute, joke. But that was my first experience. But even there, it was obvious to me that Shukla doesn't seem like the kind of cricketer that they talked him up to be. Right? I'm just saying
he was no Shardul.
He was no Shardul. Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying it doesn't even have to be a big match. I'm just saying that watching a match live at the ground, especially of elite cricketers, there is absolutely no doubt that it enhances your understanding of the game. And if I were to choose between the two for the same match, assuming all other things are constant, where you have access and you can afford it, or it's probably given to you for free or whatever, I know what I miss out by missing out on TV, but I would always choose to watch it at the ground. So that's the limited point I'm trying to make.
Also, it's unlikely that if you saw Lakshmi Ratan Shukla playing in live, it's unlikely that you would instantly rubbish him as like a pathetic cricketer or a pathetic bowler. You would have seen something in him that shows that he's like way superior to anything that you are capable of, right? So, but I think TV offers you that, puts you into that trap. It's very easy to look at a cricketer on TV getting smashed around for like say 50 runs in 5 overs and say crap bowler, pathetic bowler. I mean, even though he's like doing something that only like 300 people in the country can probably do. I mean, at that level.
What are you talking about? Even when you just watch, like, the ball is bowled, it goes through the keeper lobs it to first slip lobs it to gully throws it to cover throws it to mid-off throws it back to the bowler. Just the casual way in which they throw the ball and catch the ball over there, I mean, if you know how heavy a cricket ball is, that is itself breathtaking. That this is like professional. This is a professional.
You've made our point.
I know, but I can.
You can't see that on TV. No, you can't see that on TV.
I can see it on TV. I know it's the true one, so I can see it. No, this is the point. No, you don't ever see anything at the ground or on TV. You whatever you know to be true, you see. This is the point. This is why this is why all these big moments and all this stuff happens. No, this idea that if you go to the ground and see something, you will see the truth. It's not like that. No,
it is not the truth. But you will see the ritual enacted after each ball, you can actually focus on where the ball is at each time much better than on TV, which has to constantly go for breaks or which has to constantly pan to something else. In cricket, if you watch an entire over, you can exactly see what you just described, the ball going from keeper to back to the bowler in that arc, and you can see it over and over again, and that itself gives you an idea of that the rhythm and the of that particular over that is going on much better than you would on TV.
I'll tell you, once I took Azharuddin's autograph. Okay, you will not believe that I did that, but I did. I was in school and I did it. Okay.
No, we believe it not because it's you, but because it's
Azharuddin. No, look at his excuse. I took Azharuddin's autograph. My excuse was I was in school.
Yeah, but that's when
because it's Azharuddin, I will explain.
It's okay. With Azharuddin, we will understand everything. Go.
And I gave him my autograph book. Okay, he's standing on the boundary, and I gave him my autograph book. Right, it's like some innings break or something has happened, and they've all come off the pitch, and he's just come and he took my autograph book in his hand. And he's like a professional cricketer, right? And he's just like lifelong. He's held a cricket bat in his hand, and he wields it like it's like a toothpick or something. And those bats are heavy. Even like the 2.28 bat is heavy, like what they consider quote unquote light bats. Those are heavy. And like the part of his, like the muscle on his hand, just below his thumb, just below where the thumb starts, where you have that, most of us have like fairly sort of not very well developed muscles over there. That muscle on Azharuddin's hand was like spectacularly well developed. Like that autograph book was like resting on it and it was not touching the rest of his hand, man. Like then you can see like wow, how he can whip that ball from like the fourth stump to square leg. Like, the amount of how these guys generate that bat speed, but you have to look for it. You're not going to see that either on TV or anything like that. I mean, you see Virat Kohli on TV now. He looks like, and you see like millions of other people also on TV, like fans and people like that. You could, if you have the eyes to see it, you can see that Virat Kohli is like from another planet as far as fitness is concerned. He's an athlete. He looks like an athlete. He looks like he's like worked like crazy all his life to get where he is. And you can see people. So if you know to look for that, then you see it. No,
you can. I'll tell you what. On television, I thought I had. Anyone who saw Roger Federer playing tennis would sort of. You see so much, right, with Roger Federer. But it's amazing how you see Roger Federer on the court, and then you actually realize how fast he moves. The speed of Roger Federer is something that was like, it just blew my mind away when I saw him at the court. When you don't get that feeling you don't get how fast he is on TV. Yeah. So these are things, even I'm sure it happens with Kohli as well. If you see Kohli at the ground, I'm sure you see aspects of his play that it's very hard to spot on TV, even though in your head you know that he's obviously fast.
That's the thing. No, one thing is true is that I think that when you watch on TV, you're sort of less likely to make the effort to like actually pay attention. Like, if you try to run 22 yards, right? If you try to complete a run wearing pads, it takes a long time. Okay. It's a lot of effort.
And failed spectacularly.
It's a lot of effort. And these guys run faster with pads than literally everyone in the stadium who's come to watch them will run without them. Like way faster. Okay. And they accelerate fast. They decelerate fast. They're like, it's incredible. But you have to have the eyes to see that. No, it is not like, it's noticeable at the ground. It is noticeable on TV also. You have to look at it, look for it. On TV, they show you that, Josh Hazelwood is bowling a spell and like ball after ball, that Tim Payne or that Alex Carey, they're collecting the ball like with the fingers pointing to the sky in front of their shoulder, and they're standing like 20 yards back behind the stumps. And he's like gigantic. He runs up next to the bowler and he's enormous. No, but there, all our stereotypes get played out. Like, for instance, you and I know that this is the most standard stereotype about, West Indian fast bowlers being menacing and intimidating and brutal and this and that. Josh Hazlewood is as intimidating as most of them. He's fast, he's got that steep bounce, he's tall, he hits the pitch hard, he's very accurate. He's really frightening, that guy. This guy, Kyle Jamieson, really frightening bowler. But you have to have the eyes to see it, no? I mean, if you don't notice it, then it's not because TV is not telling you. The guy is running up next to the bowler, next to the umpire every ball. You see the umpire standing, you see this giant running up next to him. Right? It has to strike you, that look, this is something amazing. Ishant Sharma is a ridiculously tall guy. To be that fit when you're that tall and that big, to be that fast, to have that much stamina, it's all there. And on TV, on top of that, they even tell you statistics. Like they'll tell you things like, Mitchell Johnson did 112 sprints in a day when he was bowling. That's ridiculous. But you don't notice it. You're not paying attention to it.
That's true. But I think that you probably have to pay that extra attention on TV because the relative distances are not very clear to you. Like when Virat Kohli hits a ball
it's a 2D projection, no?
It's a 2D projection, exactly. So when he hits a ball to mid-wicket and he runs 2 and he's looking for the third, when you see that in the field with the distance the ball has traveled, the speed at which the non-striker is running, the speed at which he's running, sort of adds up and you realize the phenomenon that he actually is. I felt that with Dhoni. I mean, I didn't see much of Kohli live, but I saw Dhoni live. Dhoni was spectacular between the wickets at his peak.
At his peak, Dhoni was an incredible athlete.
Incredible.
I mean, absolutely. You could see that on TV, man. I mean, he was like, he was never ever done for speed by anything. That's an incredible thing.
At his peak means what? I don't understand. Last month was
2013.
Hey, what are you guys saying? Hey.
No, we're talking about Dhoni, not Tala. These are two different avatars.
Correct. And also for India, at his peak for India is what I'm saying.
The human version, okay? The human version.
So not
this IPL character.
Yeah.
So one probably distinction I'll make to KD's point, which is a great point, is that you're a lot more invested in the ground, therefore it's easier, or probably it's the environment makes it easier for you to observe more, even though you could potentially observe the same thing on TV. That's one point. But the other point is that the depth certainly makes something unobservable on TV, right? I mean, of course, Kohli hitting to the cover and running is something that you can still connect the dots. But a Shane Warne tossing the ball up and the ball sort of, first going up, then swerving in and then dipping from there. Sure, you can watch it on slow motion replay and so on. But the effect of doing that ball over ball, I don't think you get a full appreciation of how a spinner bowls, how well a bowler, the level of skill and craft involved in a spinner's act is fully appreciable on TV. I think, to me, that is a unique sort of perspective you get only at the ground.
And it's also a question of respect, man. I mean, I'm not saying people who don't go to the ground don't rubbish players, but I think it's sort of, you begin to understand how hard the damn game is, man. I mean, and it's really important to feel that. I mean, you spoke about sitting in the humidity and the heat, right? I mean, that is also part of it. You realize that on such a hot day, for these players to be going out there and doing such a thing, and then to actually, feel the craft, and it's important to feel that, to realize how elite they are. I mean, of course, you can say, of course, they are elite. I mean, only 10 people in the whole world get to, in the whole country are doing this, 11 people are doing this. But to feel it is a different thing altogether.
But all these commentators who are at the ground and watching it, they are the ones who complain about overrates, no?
But their job is to present it for TV. They are actually watching in an air conditioned.
They are TV employees,
They're also watching
man. They're TV employees. They have to do what their employer tells them to do. No, which is complain about over rates. And say that why didn't you get 90 overs?
They are the experts of the game. They played cricket unlike any producer or whatnot. I'm sure they are getting their money from their employers and all that. But they are in the best position to describe the game.
But I'm 100% sure. Like, why is it that Gavaskar and Shastri have so many opinions and Vishwanath and somebody who's not a commentator doesn't have? It's not like they are any less elite cricketers, right? Why is it that Srinath doesn't have as many opinions as Murali Karthik?
I'm sure they do. They're just not telling you.
Maybe. But the point is that TV want two things, right? One, it forces you to have way more opinions than you are expected to have. And two, it gives you the platform to keep offering your opinions all the time, right? I mean, I'm not entirely convinced that if you sit next to Gavaskar and watch the match, he's going to give you the same sort of commentary as he does to the wider audience. I'm sure that'll be different.
Yeah, because you can't go on TV and say, I don't have an opinion on this. Then you lose your job.
The problem is that people fear the vacuum more than anything, man. Because the vacuum implies that, the description of most events in cricket is that the bowler bowls the ball, the batsman plays the shot, and an event occurs. So if you can describe those three things in 3 sentences, it is done. But then there is, a lot of dead air. So what they're trying to do is they are trying to describe the context of the game, and in describing the context of the game, they are attributing things like nerves of steel, pierce the gap, beautiful shot. He's born with timing.
But even that is not as irritating to me as this hyper analysis of like some one thing. Like they will pick that one thing, right? Which is like
brilliant captaincy by Stokes.
No, forget that. Even
every 3 minutes.
What is conventionally accepted as great coverage? I'll give you an example. There was I think it was the last India tour of England where James Anderson bowled a bunch of balls which were coming in, and then he gets one ball to go away.
Yeah.
With like the same position. And Mike Atherton spent they have this third man thing in Sky Sports, right? Mike Atherton spent a bit of time sort of analyzing this.
Wait, was it Rohit Sharma?
No, it was KL Rahul.
Oh, okay, KL Rahul. Okay.
The point is, this is KD's favorite sort of, story, right? Like the point is that James Anderson does it all the time. Like his entire bowling revolves around setting batsmen up. It's not like sometimes the setups work and sometimes they don't. And in fact, Rahul also knows it, right? It's not like Atherton doesn't believe that. It's like they have a segment called Third Man and they have to do justice to that. And that occurs at sort of regular intervals, right? So my point is that, okay, TV has the technical capability to offer you a much superior understanding of the game. There's no doubt about it, right? But it's not like everybody is using the data that we get from TV like the way KD does. Even if you give the control figures to the Cricinfo's control figures to the same sort of commentators, they're going to interpret it differently. So it is theoretically.
It's not the interpretation problem. It's a problem of presentation. It's a problem of engagement. The incentives for TV are different.
I am not sure. I believe that while TV has the capabilities to offer us a much superior understanding of the game, till now it has not reached that. At least now the images are getting there.
Ashoka is right. I think it's driven by ratings. I think there's producers sitting there evaluating like what they did and whether the ratings went up and down, and that decides whether or not they do it the next session or the next test match. No?
Yeah, which is why win-wiz is a huge thing. No, because it keeps that thrill going. Like, the win-wiz is now 40%. Now it's 80%. Now it went from 80% to 30%. All that is a audience engagement.
So every analytical tool that's available at your disposal as sort of a TV crew is used to further reinforce the same sort of commoditized view of the game, right? And that's even true of Sky, which is probably the best, widely considered to be the best coverage of cricket, right?
Mahesh, but the point is I have a mute button, no? So on
No, you can control the sound, but the point is they're showing that replay, right? Like 3 wickets have fallen since, and they're going back to this dismissal, and they're showing the fact that Anderson bowled 4 in-swingers and 1 outswinger to KL Rahul, and he nicked it. Even if you're on mute, you're going to see it, and that influences your mind. Okay, basically the whole idea of setup. You are different, KD, but majority of the people buy into the fact that, okay, Mike Atherton did this fantastic episode, and he says Anderson set KL Rahul up. Like that brings me back to this spell, which is the best spell of Anderson that I've watched was at Edgbaston. He was bowling to Sachin, and Sachin scored some 40 odd. He scored like 7 brilliant drives. That the whole spell was a cat and mouse chase, right? He was essentially trying to set Sachin up. Sachin was getting on top of him for a while. Eventually, Sachin could not. He got out LBW. I'm saying that just happens all the time, except that here Mike Atherton was not like telling me that this is what happened in this case, right? I was allowed to process it on my own, and there were like 15,000 other people who processed it based on their own sort of interpretation of that event.
How is ground better now? It's only better. It's only better because Mike Atherton didn't point out to that fact, and it's only better.
The fact
because
I could see the setup, I could see the cat and mouse game pretty clearly. It was obvious at the ground, even with the diminished sort of distance and other problems that
but it's obvious to you because you know what you're looking for. No.
No, of course, if you're an idiot in front of the TV. You're an idiot at the ground. There's no question. But
no, I'm just saying. Like if you don't know, you don't know. No.
Hello, boss. TV is called an idiot box for a reason. It is used to tell you exactly where to focus on what and why you should focus on that. It serves a larger purpose. You should not put down idiots. Why are you so judgmental about those guys?
Dude, we watch 99% of our matches we are watching is on TV only. Why are we? Who are we to put down TV?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, this guy is putting down TV.
Why would I put down TV, dude? I grew up in places where there was not even a cricket ground for me to play, let alone for international cricketers to come and play. I mean, it's like
we will tell you only one thing. Among the four of us, only you watched Roland Garros, sitting next to Boris Becker and Ivan Lendl.
Okay, it was the cheapest sports trip I've done. I had to go to Denmark for my work, and I just had to take a detour. I just had to literally book the tickets, and French Open tickets are not too expensive. I'm sorry, I have to defend myself this way here. I'm not trying to defend myself here. I'm just saying that sports.
No, we will bring it up every 20 minutes because WTC final happened. Rohit Sharma was on the trial, and you were not there. We don't care if you go to Roland Garros or Wimbledon. You
Cummins
should be
was
here.
There, man. Cummins was there. Mahesh knew
first of all, get this guy out, man. First of all, throw this guy out. I'm talking about Rohit Sharma. Cummins.
As a partisan Rohit Sharma fan, I did the right thing. I knew that the odds of India winning was low. I chose the right event. And even there, I didn't want to watch Djokovic win, so I didn't go for that match.
Anyway, so that is actually quite damning. You went all the way to Roland Garros and didn't watch Djokovic win 23rd.
I've seen enough of Djokovic wins at Rod Laver. I have no appetite to watch one more Djokovic win in my life. I am so happy I didn't get the tickets for that. And it stayed that way.
Okay, anyway, the one listener that we had pending is also left. So I think it is time we also make a dignified exit from this podcast.
Say thank you to the three of us here because nobody else is listening.
Let me end with one anecdote because Kartikeya's point about Azharuddin reminded me of one thing that I will never forget in my life is that in 2019 there was this completely, one of the there was a T20 tournament that was organized in Canada, one of those franchise tournaments, and people were marketing it as selling the game to North America and all as usual. So I was fortunate to end up interviewing Shahid Afridi, and I knew about this because I'd heard about this and I'd heard people writing about this. So instinctively, I wanted to shake his hand because I knew that he has a really tight and gripping handshake. But I had to feel it because, Osman Samiuddin has written about how, Afridi has this like completely remarkable handshake. But I had to shake his hand. But this guy is not shaking my hand. Like, even though I'm like trying to put my hand out and shake my hand at the end of the interview, right? I'm trying to wrap up and shake my hand. He's not shaking my hand. So then I actually told him, I said, I explained to him in Hindi, in my bad Hindi, that I've heard so much about your handshake. I really have to shake your hand. So then he gave me like his classic, and then he got even more enthused about it, right? He got like even more happy that I'm sort of glorifying his handshake, and then he gave me like a handshake where my hand was basically sore for the next day. I couldn't even like write properly. Man, that guy, like what a handshake he has, like unbelievable. So he just basically crushed my palms. So yeah, that's something that will stick in my head when I think of Shahid Afridi.
No, we started the podcast with accusing me of being privileged. And KD, who prefers watching on TV, was bragging about talking to Azharuddin. And you're bragging about talking to Afridi.
What talking to Azharuddin? I pushed
What am I getting an autograph from him and looking at his muscles below his thumb and whatnot?
The boundary.
Basically proves that I am the man of the masses.
Yet again.
Yet again, you're the man of the masses who is,
He will certainly come with me to Gaul the next time I go there.
Yeah.
Despite all his reservations.
Of course.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you.
Everybody meaning who? Nobody is left.
No, you three. That's all.
Okay.
And listeners who, in case you're around, thank you for supporting us. 81 All Out Publishing. We have brought out 3 books. Thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for buying the books. Summer Game by Gideon Hay was the recent book that we put out. Marvelous history of cricket in Australia in the 50s and 60s. Please pick it up. We did a podcast with Gideon about the book, and the book is available, as an e-version, as a print copy. I mean, just to extend the ground versus TV, we can also, have a conversation about reading e-books versus print books at some point of time. So that's also, you can pick it up. Cricket Beyond the Bazaar by Mike Coward and War Minus the Shooting by Mike Marquesi were the other books that we have put out, republished. So I'll put all the links out there. We are at 81 All Out on Twitter. 81allout.com is our website. And you can also support us on Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/81allout. That's a few of you have been really supportive and appreciative of what we've been doing, and we're very thankful about that. So, yeah, until we join you next time, thank you so much. Goodbye.
India have won the series. They're going to get back for 2. India home. Lords goes wild.